but nothing as ugly as week 6 since Jerry Jones took over in 1989 as the owner and GM for the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys get blown out at home in AT&T Stadium, 47-9 the final, leaving them winless at home and 3-3 in the 2024 season. The Cowboys trying to put the last 6 weeks behind them, but first we have to rewind back to this week. Welcome in to Cowboys Rewind. I'm Nicole Hutchison, and a good bit of emotions here at the Star following the Cowboys' loss to Detroit. There's frustrations, there's concern, but there's also been one message, that's look in the mirror. A lot of that this week throughout the coaching staff and the players, but where do you start in the bye week? Mike McCarthy saying it starts putting everything out on the table.
You know, and stating the obvious, starts with the turnover ratio. Fundamentals of football are, part of your everyday existence in this game. And, we cannot function at where we are, as far as the number of giveaways and the lack of takeaways. So, so I just really, kept it about football and, the technique fundamentals and how you improve that and the focus with that. We did the number of moving parts. We need to, regardless of that, we need to be more connected, more uniform. So just kept it about just the things that, we didn't do, and just make sure the direction was clear in the direction we're going.
And along with that, when you have a break after a performance like that, and everyone's not here in the building to kind of focus on what you need to do, is that any concern at all as far as them getting away and not being here to work on what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, years ago you could practice, during this week, but it's, the schedule's the schedule. So, I mean, that's really not even, to go there. But I don't think anybody would want a chance to go out and work on some of the things that we didn't do very well. I think that's human nature. That's, that's part of being in the team. It's part of being the competitors. So it definitely makes for a longer week in the area of self-scout and the things that I've already had planned. So, I mean, I know I do personally, I've always kind of push things off and try to chart a plan, whether it's, concept variation that you're trying to build off of the things you've done. Hopefully you're building off of things you've done very well. So, right now we got to make sure we're really, focused and tight as far as the things, the way people are attacking us week in and week out. I mean, for example, line movement, versus our offensive line. We've been seeing that, steadily since week 1, understandably, starting 2 rookies. So how can we better prepare our players in season, with that work? I mean, we got a ton of work in the training camp format with our defense. So how do we carry that over, next week? And
this loss brought up about many hot topics throughout the Star this week. We'll be breaking those down throughout the show. But it also brought up a lot of questions and looking for answers, people looking for some answers. The first one, what's the identity of this team? We'll be taking a look at that question and that answer right here on Cowboys Rewind up next.
Cowboys Rewind is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com. This segment is brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it's the bye week for the Dallas Cowboys, and there's still no identity for this team after 6 weeks of football, offensively and defensively, which you think would have been established by the time the end of training camp hit. But if you want to take it a little bit further, I mean, you really go into the draft, drafting the players that fit the mold of the identity you plan to formulate. Up next, you then start putting that foundational pieces in place. That starts with rookie minicamp, OTAs. So then by the end of training camp, everything should be put into place, and you head into the season continuing to add components to the foundation. Well, right now, the Cowboys are behind that timeline. The lack of identity became a hot topic this week, and here's the Talking Cowboys crew weighing in.
My biggest issue, right? We can talk all day long about all the things that are wrong about this game. Yeah. My biggest issue is that you don't have an identity. And that, to me, is worrisome. That's worrisome to me because when everything else is going to crap, because there's going to be those days.
Yeah.
You're going to have those days where you get blown out like this. And you're not going to like it. And you're going to try to put your finger on it. And it's just too many holes to plug all at one time, right? So you go, you watch it, you address it, and then you say, all right, let's go have a better game plan for the next one, right? Because we can't fix everything that we see, right? You just can't. You can't address it all. But we're gonna highlight the major areas, and we're gonna hit those head on and deal with it, look ourselves in the mirror, and push forward. But when all else fails, what do you lean back on? Like, what's your ethos?
Right. What makes you?
Yeah, what's your ethos? So for instance, talk about the Detroit Lions. If the Detroit Lions defense was trash and their offense was trash and the special teams couldn't kick it through the doggone goalpost, what do you know that you're still going to get out of them?
They're going to run the ball.
Okay? They're going to be physical.
Oh,
and they're going to be relentless.
Yeah.
That's a culture.
No matter what.
That's a culture, right? That is the ethos of that team, right? And that stems from, you can say it stems from Dan Campbell, whoever you want to say. But that's what you know you're going to get no matter what the result of the field is, right?
Right.
I don't know what that is for this team right now. And that to me is worrisome because that's something that you can always lean on and that may get you through in certain games when you perform like this. That may, right? But at least you know that I'm leaning on that.
And that's what's most terrifying about the outlook after a game like yesterday and after, looking at the totality of the first 6 games is there is no ethos, right? And you have no identity. And yesterday, when you talk about having no pulse, they were cadavers yesterday. They were just a cadaver.
Empty bodies.
Yeah, just empty shells of a body that were just getting beat up on, kicked on, spit on, et cetera, et cetera. And so to me, what's your identity? John Doe. Going into the bye week, you're John Doe. You're John Doe. You were just a cadaver with a tag on your toe, and nobody can identify who this body is because they're waiting for dental records to come back, I guess, right? So until you identify, are you going to start out physicaling the people? We're not seeing enough of that to be like, okay, that's your ethos. Are you going to finesse people to death and light up the scoreboard for 40 points like you did last year and the year prior and in years prior? We're not seeing that either. Are you going to line up and punch him in the mouth? We're not seeing that either. We're seeing you getting punched in the mouth, rep after rep. And again, you look at like the offensive line and just Terrence Steele had a bad game, and Tyler Smith had a bad game, and Zach Martin had a bad game, and TJ Bass had a bad game, and Cooper Beebe had a bad game, and then it just kind of goes from there.
Tyler Redden did okay.
I love the word ethos. What's your ethos? What is your identity? Right now, it is John Doe.
That lack of identity has especially shown up in the red zone. But while the Cowboys look to find those answers for their red zone woes, there's a few people who believe they have the answers. But what exactly is it? That's up next here on Cowboys Rewind.
This segment was brought to you by Ashley, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys.
Scoring in the red zone continues to be a weakness for Dallas. In 2023, Dallas finished 12th in touchdown conversion rate of 57.89. Well, in 2024, it's been a downward hill spiral. They now rank 30th in the NFL after going 0-3 in the red zone against the Lions with a touchdown conversion rate in the red zone. Too many points have been left off the board by the Cowboys team in 6 weeks. But who do you blame for the red zone issues? Is it Dak? Is it the offensive line? Is it the play calling? Well, the girls on Girls Talk, Boys Talk broke it all down this week.
In 2021, the Cowboys led the NFL in scoring in the red zone. They reached the end zone on 28.6% of their drives, which was the highest in the NFL back then. Back in 2021, Dak had a completion percentage in the red zone back then of 73.3%. He made 22 out of 30 passes in the red zone back then, okay? Keep in mind, that was under Doug Nesmeier, who had 7 years experience at that point in his coaching career. Now he's with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia, so I'm interested to kind of see how Jalen will progress under him. Keep in mind, 2022, that number lowered. Dak had 63% of completions in the red zone. That was 2022. 2023, 46.8 completion. So you can see that dropping. Keep in mind, Scott Tolzien came in 2022. At that point, he only had 3 years of NFL coaching experience. So to me, I'm kind of looking at your quarterback's coach a little bit for your red zone woes and how he's coaching Dak. When you compare how both of them coach offenses, Doug Nesmere was very, very adamant about a complete offense. And what does that mean? Not being one-dimensional, utilizing all of your players. And what's interesting, in 2021, you also had a rookie center, Tyler Biotish, if you remember, but you also were, pretty well guarded with veterans around you at that point too. So this year I'm looking at it, you have a rookie left tackle, you have a rookie center, but what's the issue? To me, I think the quarterback coach needs to kind of reevaluate how he's coaching Dak, specifically in the red zone. I think the fundamentals have to come back in play. Aisha, when you were looking at the game, what did you notice about Dak's fundamentals in the red zone? Because to me, I went back to 2021. This is what I was doing today. I felt crazy. I went back to 2021. He looked so clean, so confident, like his chest was perked up when he's making passes in the red zone. Completely different guy this year. It's frustrating.
Lack of run game. He sped up. And then also, too, I'm pretty sure he probably had some running touchdowns, Dano.
He did.
The RPO. He said that a couple of weeks ago, and I've been looking for it from the big dog because there was a play in this game where he should have pulled it, and he didn't. Like, the play was for him to pull it.
There's some hesitation from him a lot.
There's some hesitation.
He wasn't playing with that back
In
then.
fairness, these players are human. He might understand. He can't say ouch.
Yeah.
In this situation, he can't say ouch like that, y'all, for real. So he might be more cognizant of that because he said that with conviction, 3 weeks ago? He said, I got to run more because we've seen the RPO and run action open up offenses that we've even gone against, be heavily reliant on it. So and we're not asking him to do it as often, but to your point, a lot of that, I think, plays into the comfort for him. I don't particularly in the play that he got picked off on, baby, that is the same red zone play y'all have run before. Do you think these people don't watch film?
He's just
You
read it.
think
read it
people
like a
don't
book,
know that
man.
you run mesh or you run a crosser and then you have a post in the back, and it's an option? Do you think that people don't know that it's the same play? It's their favorite. It's one of their favorites.
And that's what Brian Branch did.
And Brian Branch is an intelligent player.
CD was not even his man. He came off of his man.
Because he knew the play. Because they've seen it. And so also to your point, some of the creativity, some of the things, but also too, let me keep it 1,000. You got lucky last week that Jalen Tolbert ran through the way he was supposed to because CD did not carry his guy as much as he needed to. These guys got to finish routes.
Red zone woes, one of the many things this team hoping to clean up during the bye week. But where do they start initially? Well, is it the run offense, the rushing game, the run game, or is it the run defense? Find out right here on Cowboys Rewind.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV.
Well, the bye week report card is in, and so far, no passing grades in terms of the run game and the run defense. Right now, the Cowboys rank 32nd in the NFL in rushing offense, averaging 77 yards per game. Well, the run defense ranks 26th in the NFL, giving up an average of 143.2 yards per game. But which has to improve the most? Well, the crew on Cowboys Break shared their thoughts.
I would say the rushing defense, and I understand that it's hard to say that because of several things. One, you face some of the best running teams in the league to start off the year, and two, you're shorthanded on defense. But the simple fact of the matter is that there's nothing coming out of it. I mean, teams are just running all over Dallas, and they have no answer. It doesn't matter who's on the field. And I think that even when you look back at some of the earlier games when Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence were out there, they were still struggling to defend the run. You think about that Baltimore game where they have, nearly 300 yards on the ground between, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson. Obviously, that's I said, one of the harder rushing duos to stop. But it seems like there's just no answer regardless of who's on the field. We've seen DeMarvion Overshown have some plays where you look and you say, okay, yeah, we see it, but then somewhere, he's just not there and he's not making an impact. The interior of the defensive line, Mozzie Smith had a really good game a couple of weeks ago, but there's still growing pains that are set to be there, right? With those first and second year guys that Mike McCarthy talked about getting those valuable reps. So I think the rushing defense for me is what can improve more.
This reminds me of me taking the SAT when it was like the English portion and the math, and I struggled on both sides. I don't know which part was the worst. It's okay. I still got a degree barely, but both. I mean, it's both. Yeah. I mean, you guys are both right. I mean, I like you're saying those points. I'm like, yeah, totally agree. And then you said that. I'm like, yeah, I think it's that too. I would probably lean on the rush defense just because on the passing game, I mean, you got these guys that should at least help the offense a little bit. Yeah. But if you cannot stop the run, you really can't do anything. And because they don't have to throw, and they're not. Baltimore didn't really have to throw. The Saints threw when they wanted to, but they also ran it too. And so that's probably the most alarming thing. Yeah, when does Micah come back? When does Tank come back? Great. But they were part of the problem too.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of like that year that Wade Phillips got fired and Romo got hurt, and it was like, well, Romo got hurt. They were 1-5 when Romo got hurt, so it's like the problems were there that whole year too. It wasn't just that. Yeah. And so problems are there. They're gonna have to fix that.
New Orleans game, they were full go, and it was bad.
The problem that I see, and I don't know if you can talk to the league about this, but you only play the Giants twice.
Yeah. Can we get more of those?
Yeah. That's what you need. Because if you play the Giants more, it'd be better, I agree. Run defense looked great.
Right.
Of course, everybody got hurt.
That's true.
Everybody got hurt in that game.
That's a good answer.
It used to be Washington and the Giants.
What do you think?
I think it's run defense, and the reason why is not so much because one is worse than the other, but when you're playing football, I've seen teams be successful that had no rushing offense. I've never seen a team in the NFL be successful that can't stop the run. If you can't stop the run, that's like the first thing. If you can't stop the run, then everything else is just gonna be a problem.
Snowball.
Because the opposing offense knows that their whole playbook is now open to them. Because if they're running the ball effectively, now play action works.
Everything.
Now they can get you deep. There are so many things you can do if you got your running game going that are limited if you don't have your running game going. So I look at that and I say that one thing is probably affecting this entire team more than anything else. Just their inability to be able to stop the run on a consistent basis, no matter who they're playing.
I think I'm still frustrated because we didn't sign Derrick Henry. So that's my.
Hey, bygones.
Right.
The run defense has had its fair share of inconsistencies. Against the New York Giants, the Cowboys, you saw what good they can do, and they carried it over into Week 5 in their win against the Steelers. But now, through 6 weeks, how would defensive lines coach Jeff Scanina assess it? He spoke to the media this week about it.
It's a work in progress, as you can see. We just got to keep working on our fundamentals and get better at shedding blocks and making plays. I think we do better. I think we're doing a good job of playing the blocks. We just got to get off of them and make plays and then tackle better.
Is it when you say getting off the blocks? Is that physicality? Is it mentality? What goes into this?
All the above. I mean, it's a physical game. It's a fast game. You got to be athletic to play this game, which we are. We just got to hone our talent, and keep working on it in practice like we're doing, and it'll all come together.
Mozzie had an impressive game against New York and kind of some struggles around that. How do you kind of try to get that consistency going for a guy like that?
Again, we just got to keep working on the practice field. He's a young player. He's getting to play a lot more than he did last year. And he's doing some good things. We just got to keep evolving every day we step on the grass.
You have some veterans you added late, and Joseph as well. How have they been able to get going a little bit, or try to get going for you?
They're doing good. I mean, again, they're learning a new system, and each week it gets better and better, and that's why we keep coming out for practice. That's why we still play this game. Every day we try to get better and improve on our skills, and hopefully on Sunday it evolves.
This bye week was full of playing cleanup, strictly with the play on the field for this Dallas Cowboys team. But how can they move forward and improve heading into Week 8? We'll talk about that up next.
Cowboys Rewind was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And by SWBC Mortgage, customized solutions to help you meet your personal and business goals. Visit swbc.com.
And we got to play better at specific points. No, there's no looking for stepping out here and bringing in 20 new players between now and the bye. That's not the way it works. but I like the players that we have. You go around this league and you will see a high recognition of the quality of players we've got. We should be able to not have happen to us Sunday with our players that we've got.
Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan this week, getting all the noise about any new additions to this roster. He's very excited about what this roster can do, and this roster will be the crew to get it done, no exception. And he said he also put to bed the outside noise about Mike McCarthy. He will be the head coach for the rest of the season. But now the Cowboys have 24 hours to return to the star. Hopefully they have a good reset button. They have the San Francisco 49ers up next in Week 8. Can they improve? Will they improve? We'll find out next week.